Welcome to another episode of True Crime Pulse. Today's episode transports us to Fort Collins, Colorado, in May of 2019. This narrative recounts the tragic demise of a cherished educator and how her husband's obsessive jealousy culminated in a fatal outcome. Dr. Vivian Severn, aged 42, resided in Fort Collins with her spouse, Robert Severn. She was an esteemed English professor at a local college, renowned for her engaging and charismatic teaching methods. Vivian possessed a profound passion for British interwar literature, establishing herself as a notable expert in this field. Her commitment to her profession endeared her to her students, frequently inviting them to her residence for overnight study sessions to assist with their assignments. Vivian was married to Robert Severn, a 45-year-old proprietor of a local chain of laundromats named Clean Spin, which was particularly popular among college students. Despite being wed for 15 years and sharing numerous joyful memories, their marriage had recently become strained due to rumors surrounding Vivian's alleged infidelities. Robert was recognized for his principled behavior and meticulous nature, yet he often exhibited a reserved and private demeanor. Outside her academic responsibilities, Vivian relished hiking in the nearby Rocky Mountain National Park and actively participated as a leader in the Fort Collins Book Club. Her vibrant personality and infectious laughter attracted a wide circle of friends. At the time, she was engrossed in authoring a 700-page manuscript titled From Brightest Head to Lehman, which explored the role of interwar literature in historical erotic fiction, a project that seamlessly combined her passion for teaching and research. In the days preceding her untimely death, Vivian was preoccupied with grading final papers and preparing for the upcoming summer semester while also completing her book. She was eagerly planning a hiking excursion with friends to celebrate the conclusion of the academic year. Her colleagues noted her enthusiasm and vitality, as she appeared invigorated and excited about the impending break. Vivian had recently shared her literary pursuits on social media, posting about a new book she was reading and sharing photos from a hiking trip. Her students admired her dedication and zeal for education. Vivian often welcomed them into her office for additional assistance, encouraging open dialogue regarding their ideas and opinions. Her office was adorned with books, papers, and travel photographs, reflecting her passion for literature and adventure. Though her life seemed full of promise, beneath the surface lay tensions and secrets that would soon culminate in a tragic outcome. Her story serves as a poignant reminder of how even the most seemingly idyllic lives can be upended by jealousy and obsession. On the morning of May 15, 2019, as the sun rose over Fort Collins, casting a warm glow across the college campus, Hank Murphy, a janitor at the college, began his routine cleaning rounds around 7:30 a.m. A familiar face on campus, Hank was known for his friendly disposition and commitment to maintaining cleanliness. Upon entering the English department, Hank observed that Dr. Vivian Severn's office door was slightly ajar, an unusual occurrence, as she was typically diligent about securing her workspace. Concerned, Hank gently knocked but received no reply. He pushed the door open and was confronted with a scene that would forever haunt him. Vivian was slumped over her desk, her body motionless. 2 visible gunshot wounds marred her form, and blood had pooled around her. Papers and books were strewn across the desk, some stained with blood. The room was engulfed in an eerie silence. Overcome with shock, Hank stumbled backward, nearly dropping his cleaning supplies. After regaining his composure, he rushed to the nearest phone to notify campus security. His hands trembled as he dialed the number, his voice quaking as he reported the grim discovery. The campus security officer on duty promptly dispatched a team to Dr. Severn's office and contacted the local police. Within moments, the wail of sirens approached the campus. Upon arrival, the police found Hank seated on a bench outside the building, his face pale and eyes wide with shock. The lead investigator, Detective Sarah Lynn Bryant, noted his distressed state as he recounted his findings, his voice still trembling. He described discovering Vivian slumped over her desk, surrounded by blood, and his immediate call for assistance. News of Dr. Severn's tragic death spread rapidly throughout the campus, leaving students and faculty in disbelief. The local news stations soon reported her death, briefly acknowledging the shocking event on their nightly newscasts. The discovery of Vivian's body marked the onset of a complex investigation that would unveil dark secrets and lead to an unexpected resolution. Detective Sarah Lynn Bryant, known for her keen analytical skills and composed demeanor, spearheaded the investigation. The scene within Dr. Vivian Severn's office was disturbing, with bloodstains on her desk and papers scattered chaotically. The police swiftly secured the area to prevent unauthorized entry or exit, meticulously photographing the scene prior to tampering with any evidence. Detective Bryant and her team diligently searched for clues, locating 2 casings from a small-caliber handgun near Vivian's desk. The trajectory of the shots indicated that the assailant had been positioned closely to Vivian at the time of the shooting. Investigators collected items deemed potentially relevant for evidence, including Vivian's computer and several personal belongings from her desk. Hoping to glean insights into who may have wished her harm, Detective Bryant also summoned forensic experts to analyze the bloodstains and other physical evidence. Meanwhile, officers conducted interviews with students, faculty, and staff, seeking to piece together Vivian's final moments. Many expressed shock and confusion, struggling to fathom how such a respected professor could fall victim to such a violent act. In addition to gathering testimonies, Detective Bryant reviewed security camera footage from around the campus, aiming to identify any suspicious individuals entering or leaving the building around the time of the murder. The footage reviewed by the authorities revealed individuals entering and exiting the building. However, nothing immediately suspicious was observed. The police understood they faced a challenging case. Dr. Vivian Severn was well regarded within the community, yet the rumors surrounding her personal life suggested a multitude of potential suspects. Detective Sarah Lynn Bryant and her team prepared to conduct a thorough examination of Vivian's life, her relationships, and her secrets. They hoped that gaining a deeper understanding of her circumstances would aid in identifying the individual responsible for her tragic death. As the sun set over Fort Collins, the police concluded their preliminary investigation at the crime scene. Although they had amassed considerable information, many questions lingered, indicating that the investigation was only beginning. Detective Bryant recognized the arduous journey ahead in pursuit of justice for Dr. Vivian Severn. The investigation swiftly focused on Vivian Severn's husband, Robert Severn, as the primary suspect. A successful businessman aged 45, Robert owned a local chain of laundromats known as Clean Spin, which enjoyed popularity among the student population. Despite his professional achievements, Robert was known to be reserved and private. Friends and family had observed a troubling increase in his jealousy and obsession regarding rumors of Vivian's alleged infidelities, making him an immediate person of interest in the investigation. On the evening of May 16, 2019, Robert was summoned for questioning at the Fort Collins police station, with Detective Sarah Lynn Bryant leading the interrogation. Although Robert initially appeared calm, a palpable tension enveloped him. Detective Bryant began by inquiring about his relationship with Vivian. He acknowledged that their marriage had been strained due to the persistent rumors regarding her affairs with students. Robert provided an alibi, asserting that he was at home during the night of Vivian's murder, engaged in the preparation of financial reports for Clean Spin. However, when pressed for a corroborating witness, Robert struggled to provide one, raising further suspicions among the detectives. As the interrogation progressed, Robert's demeanor began to change. He grew defensive when the detectives probed deeper into his whereabouts and his feelings regarding Vivian's alleged indiscretions. Despite repeatedly denying any involvement in her death, his evasive responses only intensified the detectives' scrutiny. In their investigation, the police examined Robert's financial records and phone logs. They uncovered numerous calls and text messages exchanged between Robert and Vivian in the days preceding her death, many of which documented heated arguments concerning the rumors. This evidence contributed to the detectives' theory that Robert's jealousy and obsession may have propelled him to commit the crime. Detective Bryant and her team continued to press Robert for additional information, aiming to identify any inconsistencies in his account. They also conducted a search of the Severn residence for any evidence linking Robert to the crime scene. During this search, they discovered a handgun that matched the caliber of the bullets used in Vivian's murder. Although this discovery constituted a significant piece of evidence, it was insufficient for an arrest without further proof establishing Robert's involvement in the actual shooting. While the police pursued other leads, Robert remained a key suspect. His behavior, the strain in his marriage, and the discovery of the handgun all pointed toward him. However, the detectives recognized that more concrete evidence was necessary before proceeding with an arrest. The investigation was far from complete, and the police were resolute in their quest for justice for Dr. Vivian Severn. On May 18, 2019, a clear and sunny day in Fort Collins, a crucial piece of evidence emerged. At approximately 10 a.m., campus security personnel discovered a flash drive in the parking lot adjacent to the English department. It had fallen from a backpack left behind by one of Dr. Vivian Severn's students. The flash drive was promptly submitted to the police for further investigation. Detective Sarah Lynn Bryant and her team examined the contents of the flash drive. To their astonishment, they found numerous videos depicting Dr. Vivian Severn engaging in sexual activities with students, both in her office and at her home. These videos corroborated the rumors surrounding Vivian's infidelities, introducing a new layer of complexity to the case. It appeared that Vivian had been intimately involved in relationships with her entire class, way beyond professional boundaries. The police analyzed the videos for clues about the murder. They looked at timestamps, locations, and other details that might help identify who had access to the footage and who could have a motive for murder. The most recent video recorded just hours before Vivian's death, showing her in a threesome with a pair of twins, Tanner and Lainey Taylor, who were two of Vivian's top students. The police also traced the origin of the videos. They discovered that the recordings had been made using hidden cameras in Vivian's office, as well as in her bedroom and bathroom of her house. The detectives expanded their investigation to include anyone who might have had access to Vivian's office and home. As the investigation continued, Detective Lynn Bryant's team analyzed the digital data from the flash drive. They looked for fingerprints, checked the metadata of the files, and searched for any connections to other suspects. This new evidence complicated the case, revealing that Vivian's relationships were even more tangled than initially thought. The videos provided a clearer motive for the murder: jealousy and revenge. With the flash drive's discovery, the police had a critical piece of the puzzle. It suggested that the killer was someone who knew about Vivian's secret life and was deeply affected by it. The investigation was becoming more complex, but they were determined to follow every lead. The new evidence pointed police towards a network of relationships and secrets that could unravel the mystery behind Vivian's tragic death. After discovering the videos on the flash drive, the police turned their attention to Tanner and Lainey Taylor. Tanner and Lainey were 19-year-old twins and two of Dr. Vivian Severn's top students. Known for their charm and good looks, they were often seen together around campus. Several videos on the flash drive showed them both having sex with Vivian, raising suspicions about their involvement in her death. On May 19, 2019, the police brought Tanner and Lainey in for questioning. Detective Sarah Lynn Bryant led the interrogation. Tanner and Lainey seemed nervous but cooperative. They admitted to having a sexual relationship with Vivian, often spending extra time in her office under the pretense of needing academic help because they had dyslexia. They also claimed that their sexual relationship with Vivian was necessary because in Vivian's class, sexual performance made up 80% of the grade. The police asked the twins about their whereabouts on the night of Vivian's death. Tanner said he was studying at the library, while Lainey said she was at a friend's house. The police checked their alibis, but neither could be confirmed with certainty. This made the detectives more suspicious of the twins. The police also looked into the Taylors' backgrounds. They were well liked by their peers and had no history of violence or criminal activity. However, their close relationship with Vivian and the videos on the flash drive made them key suspects. Detective Lynn Bryant and her team searched the twins' dorm room for any evidence linking them to the murder. They found several items belonging to Vivian, including a book and a scarf, which raised further questions about their relationship. However, they did not find any direct evidence linking the twins to the murder weapon or the crime scene. The police also analyzed the digital data from the flash drive to see if Tanner or Lainey had accessed it. The results were inconclusive, as the flash drive had been used by multiple devices. This made it difficult to determine who had planted the hidden camera in Vivian's office. Throughout the investigation, Tanner and Lainey maintained their innocence. They expressed shock and sadness over Vivian's death and insisted they had nothing to do with it. Despite their denials, The police continued to consider them key suspects due to their close relationship with Vivian and their presence in the incriminating videos. As the investigation continued, Detective Lynn Bryant and her team knew they had to find more concrete evidence to either prove or disprove the twins' involvement in Vivian's murder. The case was becoming more complicated, and the police were determined to follow every lead to find justice for Dr. Vivian Severn. With the investigation still open, the police turned their attention to Dr. Jonathan Brooks. Dr. Brooks was a 50-year-old professor specializing in ancient Phoenician history. Known for his strict demeanor and high academic standards, he had a reputation for being difficult to work with. Despite this, his dedication to his field was undeniable. There were rumors of a professional rivalry between Jonathan and Vivian, and some even suggested they had once been romantically involved. On May 20, 2019, the police brought Dr. Brooks in for questioning. Detective Sarah Lynn Bryant led the interrogation of Dr. Jonathan Brooks. He remained calm and cooperative, though a hint of irritation flashed across his face at the situation. Dr. Brooks acknowledged a professional rivalry with Vivian Severn but firmly denied any romantic involvement, describing their relationship as strictly academic and highly competitive. When questioned about his whereabouts on the night of Vivian's murder, Dr. Brooks stated he was home grading papers. He provided a list of students whose work he had assessed, but this alibi proved difficult to verify. The detectives noted his irritation but pressed on for more information. Dr. Brooks revealed an unusual competition between him and Vivian, who could have the most sexual encounters with students throughout the school year. He insisted it was all in good fun and that he was serious about the competition, but insisted he had no motive to kill her. The police found this revelation deeply disturbing, as it suggested potential motives rooted in jealousy. If Vivian had indeed won the competition shortly before her death, it might have created significant tension between them. Following the interrogation, the police searched Dr. Brooks' office and home for any evidence linking him to the murder. They uncovered several personal items belonging to Vivian, including a pen and a notebook, but these were insufficient to establish direct involvement. No weapons or evidence suggesting he was connected to her death were found. As the investigation continued, the police scrutinized Dr. Brooks' digital activities. They examined his emails and social media for any signs of animosity towards Vivian. While they uncovered some heated exchanges regarding academic matters, nothing indicated a motive for murder. Throughout the interrogation, Dr. Brooks maintained his innocence, expressing shock and sadness over Vivian's death. He insisted he had no part in it, but despite his cooperation, the police remained suspicious due to his rivalry with Vivian and their peculiar competition. Detective Bryant and her team recognized the necessity of finding concrete evidence to either confirm or disprove Dr. Brooks' involvement in Vivian's murder. The case was growing increasingly complex, and they were determined to follow every lead to seek justice for Dr. Vivian Severn. On May 22, 2019, the investigation took a significant turn. New evidence pointed directly to Robert Severn, Vivian's husband. A detailed analysis of the previously found flash drive revealed a timestamp hidden in the metadata of one of the videos, indicating that Robert had accessed the files an hour and a half before Vivian's murder. Detective Bryant and her team pieced together the timeline. Robert's obsession with Vivian's affairs had reached a boiling point. He had discovered her sexual relationships with multiple students and felt deeply humiliated and betrayed. On the night of the murder, he traveled to Vivian's office to confront her. In a fit of rage, he shot her twice with a handgun he had taken from their home. The police had gathered enough evidence to arrest Robert. On the morning of May 23, 2019, they arrived at his house. Robert appeared anxious in the living room when the police informed him of his arrest for the murder of his wife. He did not resist, seeming resigned as if he had been expecting this moment. Robert's arrest sent shockwaves through the community. Vivian's colleagues and students were stunned to learn that her husband was the killer. Many had suspected him, but the confirmation was difficult to accept. The Severn family was devastated, grappling with the painful reality of his actions and mourning the loss of Vivian. During the interrogation, Robert Severn confessed to the crime. He explained how he had been driven to madness by Vivian's betrayals, unable to endure the thought of her intimate relationships with her students. In a moment of uncontrollable anger, he killed her. His confession was detailed and left no doubt about his guilt. Vivian's family had mixed reactions to Robert's arrest. While they felt a sense of relief that the killer had been caught, the pain of losing Vivian was still fresh. They struggled with the heartbreaking reality that someone so close to her could commit such a horrific act. The community of Fort Collins echoed this sentiment, feeling both relief and sorrow. Many gathered to support Vivian's family during this difficult time. As the police wrapped up their investigation, having followed every lead and piece of evidence, they found justice for Dr. Vivian Severn. The case was officially closed, yet the impact of this tragedy would linger in the hearts of those who knew her. While Robert awaited trial, Fort Collins began to heal, coming together to remember Vivian's contributions and the positive influence she had on her students and colleagues. Her legacy would endure, even as the community grappled with the painful truth of her death. In January 2022, delayed by the COVID-19 pandemic, the trial of Robert Severn finally began at the Larimer County Courthouse in Fort Collins, Colorado. The courtroom was packed with media, family members, and curious locals. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Tabitha Quasimodo, known for her meticulous approach and determination to seek justice, presented a strong case against Robert. She outlined his motive, opportunity, and the digital evidence linking him to Vivian's murder, arguing that jealousy and obsession over Vivian's infidelities drove him to commit the crime. Quasimodo called several witnesses to the stand, including detectives and experts who explained the flash drive's metadata. The prosecution painted a clear picture of a man pushed to his breaking point by his wife's actions. Robert's defense attorney, Lisa Martin, a tough and clever lawyer, argued that he had been under immense emotional stress and had not acted with premeditation. She sought to cast doubt on the digital evidence's reliability, suggesting someone else could have planted it to frame Robert. Throughout the trial, Vivian's family watched with heavy hearts, torn between their love for Robert and their need for justice for Vivian. The emotional toll was evident as they listened to graphic details and arguments from both sides. The trial lasted 3 weeks, drawing intense media coverage and daily updates in local newspapers and on channels like NBC and CNN. On February 4, 2022, the jury reached a verdict. The courtroom fell silent as the foreperson announced that Robert Severn was found guilty of first-degree murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The verdict brought a mix of relief and sorrow to Vivian's family. They were grateful for justice, but devastated by the loss of both Vivian and Robert. The community of Fort Collins reacted with a sense of closure. Many felt that the trial revealed the deep complexities and dark secrets behind Vivian's seemingly perfect life. The case sparked conversations about relationships, mental health, and the pressures faced by individuals in both personal and professional spheres. In the weeks following the verdict, Vivian's friends and colleagues held a memorial service to honor her memory, focusing on her contributions to the academic community and her positive impact on her students. The service served as a reminder of the bright, dedicated person she was, despite the tragic circumstances of her death. As Robert began his life sentence, the Severn family struggled to move forward. The trial had taken a toll on everyone involved, but they hoped to find peace in knowing justice had been served for Vivian. After his sentencing in February 2022, life slowly began to return to normal in Fort Collins. The community, shaken by the tragic events, started to heal. Dr. Vivian Severn's family faced the difficult task of moving on without her. They honored her memory by establishing a scholarship fund for students studying literature, ensuring her legacy lived on. Vivian's colleagues at the university found it challenging to resume their daily routines, many attending counseling sessions to cope with the loss and the shocking revelations of the case. The English department dedicated a reading room in her name and worked together to finish and publish her book, From Brightest Head to Lehman Interwar Literature's Role in Historical Erotic Fiction. Robert Severn began serving his life sentence in the Colorado State Penitentiary, spending his days in solitary confinement, reflecting on his actions. The media coverage of the trial and his imprisonment continued to follow him, but over time, public interest waned. His friends and remaining family members visited occasionally, but those visits became less frequent as the months passed. Tanner and Lainey Taylor, The students involved in the scandal struggled with the aftermath of the trial. They faced backlash from their peers in the community. Despite their involvement being revealed, they tried to continue their studies, seeking counseling to help them deal with the trauma and scrutiny they faced. Over time, they managed to rebuild their lives, but the events left a lasting impact on them. Dr. Jonathan Brooks, who had been a suspect in the investigation, returned to his teaching position. Although cleared of wrongdoing in Vivian's murder, his reputation had taken a hit. He focused on his work, distancing himself from the scandal as much as possible. His colleagues were supportive, but the shadow of the events lingered. Detective Sarah Lynn Bryant and her team were commended for their work in solving the case. They continued to serve the Fort Collins community, using their experience to handle future cases with even greater care and precision. The department implemented new training programs to better manage sensitive cases involving personal relationships and digital evidence. The Fort Collins community, though shaken, grew closer. People became more aware of the pressures and mental health issues faced by those around them. Local organizations and schools began offering more support services, aiming to prevent such tragedies in the future. The tragic death of Dr. Vivian Severn revealed a complex web of secrets and lies, ultimately driven by jealousy and obsession. Join us next time on True Crime Pulse as we uncover more stories of lives forever changed by crime. Thank you for listening.